All right, Adam. This is this is wrapping up our media portion of week 2 of spring ball, and there's still it's only Tuesday, and there's a lot more football this week, especially with the Big 12 Pro Day coming up in Dallas, starting today actually, but it's going to be down there the rest of this week, and really like we've had so far. It's a lot of information thrown at us because we got 4 coaches today, and it was good to hear from the assistant coaches today.
We got to start with Warren Sapp. He kind of steals the show.
We could do a whole video on Warren Sapp.
We could. Yeah, his energy, I wish you could bottle that up because I do a shot of Warren Sapp every morning, and I feel like I get more out of life. He brings it, and he's at such a good place in his life from this standpoint of being able to mentor young people because he's already done what he set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
The ego is not there when he's trying to get these guys better. And it's clear with the relationships he's built with this team that it's gone even better than I think anybody could have imagined, just in terms of him becoming infected with the coaching bug, becoming addicted to it, like he said, and, seeing the way that these players, he calls them his babies, have really, warmed up to him. And I thought the coolest thing he said today was just that he learned how to coach different guys last year. It's not a cookie cutter mold. A guy like Tafik Thomas was doing things that were different than what he was taught or made him successful as a player. And at one point he said, if you stop having, offsides and you're wreaking havoc in the opposing backfield, I guess you can go at it a different way. And they kind of met and found a common ground. So you can hear him learning as a coach as well.
Well, Coach Prime is big on endorsements, right? And we're trying to we got the wind issue on here, but
I think we're safe.
And endorsing products, there's got to be something Warren Sapp can endorse: an energy drink or an energy shot, right? The Warren Sapp energy drink. So I don't know how anybody can get that type of energy, but yeah, he was pretty. He was asked, the very last question was, how would you feel about, Coach Prime's idea of playing another team? And he just lit up and was almost salivating, like, oh, yeah, give me another color to hit. Yeah. So, yeah, I love hearing from Coach Sapp. It's only the second time we've done that. We got him once last year, but you can see why those guys respond well, and that group of coaches with now George Hilo and oh my gosh, Pecco. Yeah, you can see the energy and how likable they are, and so yeah, it's a good group. We also heard from a couple of the offensive line coaches. We heard from Gunnar White last week, but today we got George Hageman and Andre Garrod, and it's a threesome that's going to be working with this offensive line group, and sounds like it's going pretty well.
What's important about that is obviously the chemistry between those 3 guys, because it only works if they have a great relationship. And if they do have a great relationship, it's perfect because you do have an offensive line being the biggest position group in terms of number of players on the team. And so to be able to get more individualized coaching, and then just the fact that their histories are a little bit different. Hageman played guard and tackle, so you can tutor those guys in those different roles, whereas Gunnar White was more of an interior guy when he played, and Andre Garrod played center and guard as well. So you've got some diversity in terms of kind of their backgrounds.
But also diversity in that Hageman and Garrod played in the NFL. Gunnar White, is to his own admission, he didn't even play a lot in college, right? He played some in college, but learned through other coaches in the coaching ranks, and you can learn plenty that way as well. So sorry to cut you off, but
Mike Leach never played football either, right? So the work ethic that Gunnar White has is clearly next level, and that's something that Coach Prime talked about. I want to go back to the spring game thing because it kind of is bugging me. You've got about almost double-digit Power 4 programs now that have either significantly modified their spring game or they're just going to cancel it altogether.
Yeah.
I get that coaches don't want to put too much out there. Mm-hmm. Again, this is another example of the fans just not being enough a part of the discussion. Those coaches in the NIL budget, that doesn't happen without the fans. It's such a long offseason, Brian. You got to throw diehard college football fans a bone there in April. And I think, the casual college football fan doesn't care about the spring game, but the diehards do. And so I'm
And the diehards are the one that are going to fill up your NIL budget, right?
Yeah. So I hate that trend. And it's been cool to see Coach Prime's comments about wanting to play another team actually get a little bit traction media-wise nationally, because who wouldn't love that? You know?
Right. Yeah. I think it'd be cool. And that's a whole other discussion, right? It's like, how do you work something like that? I would love to see it like regional and, in other sports, like the women's soccer team. I think they're actually down there practicing right now. But there's rules. They can do spring scrimmages, but you can't get on a plane. So it's got to be a school that you can bus to. I could see something like that with football. Maybe it's regional. You could do a Kansas or a Wyoming, Nebraska or UNC or whatever. But just getting that other team on the other side would be awesome. And you fill up this place, right? You fill up CSU's stadium or whatever it is. And so throw the fans a bone a little bit. I love it.
And you're already going to be pretty vanilla in a spring game anyway. So I don't think, again, it kind of goes to the over paranoia of some coaches that when they make decisions like this, it's like taking the fun out of the sport, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So the other one we heard from today, Michael Pollock, the special teams coordinator, who was here as an analyst last year. And his job's a little bit easier when you got Buck Buchanan. He's like, so we don't have to spend as much time on kickoff team. But he gave us some insight as to, and we've kind of thought this, but like with the kicking game, that it's clearly there's a lot of trust in Alejandro Mata, but he doesn't have that strong leg. Whereas Michael Pollock said, I'm kind of looking at it now that Mata is our main guy. But when you get to those longer field goals, maybe Buck Buchanan comes in there and does that.
Well, if he's making field goals off kickoffs, if there's a 55-yard attempt to be had this year, I think who that's got to be, right?
Right.
So, it makes sense. He was very insightful, I thought, with some of the personnel stuff, talking about Quentin Gibson, Quennell Farrakhan Jr. Being guys that he sees factoring in as potential punt return guys. You've got Draylon Miller and Cam Michael working in that kickoff return role. A lot of athletes out there, maybe a little nervous with a true freshman dealing with punt return responsibilities, but Quennell Farrakhan Jr. had 4 returns on special teams in one high school game. So if anybody can do it, I think it might be him.
He might be okay in that role. And Damon Graves, the new punter, the new mate, as Coach Prime calls him, sounds like he's doing a great job with directional punting and really pinning teams inside the 5. And so everything seems to be rosy at springtime, right? But there was a lot of glowing talk from Michael Pollock about the special teams, and you love to hear it because special teams, I think, cost them sometimes last year, and they've really got to shore that up. And I think that's why Coach Prime made this hire: is let's get a dedicated special teams person in there to really run this area of the game.
Like you said, they're not spending as much time on kickoffs now because you've got a guy that can boot it in the end zone. Like Pollock said, that gives you more time to work on other stuff, special teams wise. So we'll see how that works out. Michael Pollock, he's a good interview. It was fun chatting with him today.
I do. I asked him this kind of in jest, but I feel bad for a guy like Ben Fenneseth who seems to thrive in that kickoff team role where he's down there faster than almost anybody. And last year it almost seemed to be a race between like him and Brandon Gant and who
Isaiah Harge is usually down there.
Who would get that tackle first? You may not have those
Tajay
opportunities,
McCoy.
right? You may not have those opportunities as much anymore, but he did talk about Ben Fenneseth being a true like captain, like on that special teams. He goes, he'll be all right. He's going to do some fun things on special teams. So I
think Ben is this year's Charlie Offerdahl, right? Because Coach Prime was talking about how Ben's their number 1 guy at safety right now. And he's said, I'm not sure if that's going to stick, but right now he likes the work ethic that he's coming with. And he's obviously been a great character in that locker room and a great student as well. So
he's well liked and he works hard, and that's going to make you good in the eyes of this coaching staff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll be it. And we're not going to be. Well, I guess we're going to get together next week at spring break, and we'll kind of recap the first 2 weeks. So we'll see you next week.